Elfa Vanino Elfa.
Okay, let's get a state of the farm address here. So we started this scenario out with a $250,000 loan on the house that we got from our parents after they passed on. House is located in the city, so we took out a mortgage on that house for $250,000. Came out here to this Polish town and wanted to start anew. So, looking around, there was a crap ton of canola fields, so we decided to get a grain harvester, which turned out to be the Epic Class Dominator. Do believe it's a 108 Maxi, but we will double check once we get over there. Reason that we started out with this is a great mod. It has super sentimental, 108 SL Maxi, okay. So, Sentimental, Top Gear, used this in one of their episodes. And so seeing it as a mod on the thing, I was like, gotta get it. And then it just turned out to be super cheap, as well as being pretty sweet. And so we picked that up, as well as the C510 header. And the reason that ended up being so cheap is because the class is like 70 grand, and then the header's less than 10. And so it turned out to be like $50,000 cheaper than the other cheapest combine out there. So picked that up. Love the German. Also picked up one of the canola fields, field 85, for $60,000. And so, needing to haul the stuff that we harvest, we picked up the Volvo BM 2654. And honestly, this thing has just turned out to be a freaking beast. A workhorse of epic proportions, 140 horsepower. We got the front weight and the wide tires. Beacon lights, of course, and honestly, this thing has been more than enough for what we need in the early game at a decent price point for what it has to offer. We also went ahead, and because we picked up the field, we picked up the fertilizer spreader for $2,000, cheapest one, and honestly, it has turned into like second team MVP because of the contracting we can do with it. In order to round out the harvesting end of our equipment, we picked up the Brantner Z18051 2 double XL. Almost 20,000 liters for just under $30,000. So price per liter you can't beat. And honestly, it's beautiful because we can put almost 3 full harvests into this guy before we have to dump them. So, really an economy buy, but because it's so, like the price on these things is so high, we have not been able to turn a profit on any of this harvesting field work budget line up to this point. Even with all of our fertilizing contracts, and then we'll get to the cultivation coming up here soon. And honestly, that's the number one VP. But even with all of the contracting that we've done, harvesting, cultivation, and fertilizing, we have still not been able to really touch the money that we put into these guys via the loan. And so we'll get into the more financial side in depth a little bit later on in the video, but because we were on a budget, we did not have enough money to buy a seeder, so we went with the planter and then planned on doing sorghum in our field instead of canola. So went ahead and bought the cheapest mod that we could get, little $2,000 guy, and then we went with $2,000 worth of seed. Stupidly, in hindsight, when we planted this field, it only took 30 liters of seeds out of our planter. So we have essentially 2,000 liters of seeds left over. So just spent way too much money on that because we thought this was going to need to be like 800 passes with the seeder to do this field. And that was not the case. Cultivator. John Deere 980, baby. This dude is our champ. The cultivation contracts that we got early game were huge. They allowed us to pay off the $30,000 loan that we needed to get in order to transport our seeds and our fertilizer via our skid loader and our trailer. And so this guy pretty much single-handedly pulled off that Christmas contract deadline by November, the mid-November to be exact. And so this, honestly, the success and the profitability of this piece of equipment kind of set us up for the future failures that we were going to make, as it just gave us a false sense of the amount of money we were going to be able to make contracting. But honestly, I can't say enough good things about this, the John Deere cultivation. It's weird, like stubble tillage. It's the shallowest cultivator of all time. But dude, this thing makes us the money. So $10,000 could not be more of a better investment, at least for our farm up to this point. So now we need to get to the elephant in the room. As you can see, here's our skid loader with pallet forks and our trailer, pallet trailer, as well as the trailer to transport the skid loader. Because we had those two pieces of equipment, we decided to invest our money into the greenhouse because we thought that was going to make us money over the winter as the cultivation contracts are drying up. Greenhouses are the easiest / cheapest way to start making a consistent amount of money. Things that limited us were the amount of land that we had to build on. So really, we were limited to the small greenhouse. We picked the tarp one because that was a mid-entry price point and started producing chilies, strawberries. I think we did a little tomatoes, and then lettuce. Dropped the tomatoes pretty much right away. Looked around on the, okay, what do these sell for? Saw pretty much everything sells for the same price, except there's a couple things that were lower, and lettuce was a little bit higher. And so not knowing if they all produced at the same thing and they just took more water, or if it was like one production ran, and then another production ran, and then another production ran, and it went back to the top and that production ran. So I had no idea how it went. The latter is actually how it goes. And so stuff was just producing incredibly slow. As you would see if you look back on the thumbnails of the different episodes, there's one where I was freaking out. Like, this is that point of just realizing none of this stuff is spawning. We are making no money, and we just dumped $20,000 into this thing that we thought was going to be profitable within that winter, like make more than the $20,000 we put in. What a debacle and an absolute foolish decision. Another foolish debacle situation is the windmill water pump. I had not done enough playing on 25 / probably didn't realize in 22 that you can pick up water from the map. And so we bought this $10,000 windmill, which is great. Like, I was like, free source of water, super convenient, right next to the place that we're going to need to fill it. Boom, bang, boom, perfect. All we're going to need to get is some kind of transportation for the water, which we were going to need anyway. And again, that's why the greenhouse is super easy to get into, because it's literally the cost of the greenhouse and the cost of getting the water. And then boom, bang, boom, you're up and running. Most other production cycles, you're going to need a couple more steps. So if it's animals, you're probably going to need water and something else, and then you're going to need something for the manure. Again, greenhouse is just like, okay, this is the easiest way to get into the production aspect and still be cheap. The only other thing that we needed other than the water is how to transport the water. And so the water tank, we're looking at around, $5,850 to get into that. So all told, we're in to this for $25,000. And again, the whole reason that this is such a debacle is that it could have been 15 because of how close the water is on the map to us. It's right next to us, so we don't need that windmill at all. Okay, financial picture. 3 major budget lines: production, farming, and then miscellaneous. Production: skid steer, trailer, greenhouse, water barrel, windmill. Fields: combine, header, tractor, trailer, and seeder seeds. Miscellaneous: pressure washer, bucket, cultivator. All right, let's talk about this bucket. This bucket we got for snow removal contracts, which we thought were a thing, but as to this point, we have no idea if they still are. So this is just a straight $4,000 loss. Nothing fun about this, just straight loss. All right, so let's talk about overall finances. Primarily, we've been receiving money through contracting. And so, as you've seen the past couple months, we've rebounded from the slow winter and we've got a couple back, but this month is nothing. We haven't made any payments to the principal of our initial $250,000 loan, as we've been still trying to get out of Walters for so long now. So, honestly, the state of the farm, we're in a bad spot. That $250,000 is looming large. We're losing about $1,000 a month in interest payments. And so, honestly, we are probably a couple months away from quitting. Like, honestly. Like, if we don't get our house and our family moved out, I don't think we'll be able to do another winter in the farm by ourselves. So, worst case scenario, if October rolls around, November rolls around, and we still don't have our home, this is the end of the series, or that will be the end of the series. But here's hoping that doesn't happen. But again, as things are going right now, the state of the farm is poor. So, thanks for watching as always, and obviously stay tuned to see if this thing continues. If not, thanks for watching. And yeah, check out the other vids as they come out. But no, we'll still be cooking on this for a little bit yet. But just saying. All right, for real though. Peace. Appreciate you. Catch you on the flip.